Welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're zoning in on one specific, really powerful section from the Hebrew Bible, Isaiah chapter 29.
Yeah, this chapter, it really packs a punch. It swings from, harsh judgment to this really vivid picture of spiritual problems, and then flips entirely to hope. Quite the journey.
It really is. So our goal today is to sort of unpack that journey. We want to look at the core messages, the striking images Isaiah uses, and maybe see what it suggests about things like judgment, hypocrisy, spiritual blindness, and also that potential for transformation.
And the language is just incredible. Very vivid pictures for some complex ideas.
Exactly. So let's dive in. Where does chapter 29 start us off?
It kicks off pretty intensely with a whoa, a pronouncement of disaster aimed at Ariel.
Ariel. And the text identifies that as the city where David settled. So we're talking about Jerusalem, right?
That's the traditional understanding, yes, Jerusalem, the heart of things. So this woe is aimed right at the center.
And it immediately talks about a siege, pressure on the city.
Exactly. It paints a picture of being surrounded, encampments, siege works, towers, basically being completely hemmed in, under attack.
And the way it describes the city's state under this pressure, it's really something. It says, Ariel will be brought low, speaking from the ground.
Speech like a whisper mumbling out of the dust.
Yeah, and your voice will come ghost-like from the earth. It gives you this image of just utter defeat, barely audible, humiliating.
Reduced to nothing, almost. Speaking from the dirt itself, it's a potent image of consequence, definitely.
But then, almost immediately, there's this sharp turn, isn't there? A real contrast. Ariel's brought low, but what happens to the enemies attacking it? The many foes.
Ah, yes. Their fate is completely different and sudden. They're described as becoming like fine dust or like blown chaff.
Think about that. Something seemingly massive and threatening just, poof, turned into tiny particles, scattered by the wind.
And the text hammers home the speed, suddenly in an instant. It's not a gradual defeat.
And how it happens is described with these incredible forces. The Lord Almighty intervening with thunder, earthquake, a great noise, windstorm, tempest, even devouring fire.
It's like the full power of nature unleashed, attributed directly to God's action, just sweeping away this massive threat.
And they vanish. The text uses this analogy that really sticks with you, like a dream.
Right, like a hungry person dreaming they're eating a feast, feeling full, but then they wake up and waken for a nothing, still starving.
Or someone desperately thirsty, dreaming they're drinking, quenching that thirst, but they wake up faint, still parched.
It's such a powerful way to say their strength, their threat, their near victory. It was ultimately unreal, insubstantial, like a dream that just evaporates when you wake up.
So their power meant nothing in the face of the Lord's intervention.
Exactly. Their threat just dissolved, instantly nullified.
Okay, so that sets up the external situation. Jerusalem is brought low, facing judgment, but its attackers are suddenly wiped out by divine power. Which kind of begs the question, why was Ariel Jerusalem facing that initial woe in the first place? If God can step in like that, why the initial judgment on the city itself?
And that's precisely where the chapter pivots. It shifts focus immediately from the outside threat to the internal condition of the people inside the city.
Right, it doesn't hold back in diagnosing their spiritual state. The language is pretty strong.
Very strong. It says things like, be stunned and amazed, blind yourselves, and be sightless.
Be drunk, but not from wine. Stagger, but not from beer. That's not literal drunkenness, is it?
No, not at all. It's describing a kind of spiritual stupor, a confusion, a blindness to truth, an inability to walk straight, spiritually speaking. They're staggering, but from something deep inside.
And the text actually says where this comes from. The Lord has brought over you a deep sleep. He has sealed your eyes, the prophets. He has covered your heads, the seers.
That's a critical point. The very people who should have spiritual insight, the prophets and seers, are described as being put into this deep sleep by God. Their ability to see or communicate God's perspective is shut down.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This state of blindness is then linked to their inability to understand God's message, using the metaphor of a sealed scroll.
Yeah, that's a central image here. The entire vision, God's word, is like this scroll, but it's sealed shut. And the text explores why it can't be read.
So first scenario.
Yeah.
You give the sealed scroll to someone who actually can read, someone literate.
And what do they say? I can't read it. It is sealed. The skill is there, but there's an external barrier of the seal.
Okay. Then, scenario 2. You give the same scroll to someone who cannot read.
Their response, I do not know how to read. Here the problem is internal, a lack of ability.
What's fascinating is that you have these two different reasons for not accessing the message. One external, like the seal, maybe divine action, and one internal, like illiteracy, maybe human inability or resistance, but the result's the same, right?
Exactly the same. The message, the vision, it remains locked away, inaccessible. It suggests spiritual truth can be missed for different reasons. Sometimes maybe it's God's timing or judgment. Other times it's our own lack of readiness or willingness to understand.
The message is there, but it just can't get through that deep sleep, those sealed eyes.
Mm-hmm. And the text goes further, connecting this blindness directly to a fundamental problem in their worship.
It lays out this really sharp indictment. These people come near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me.
The classic description of hypocrisy, isn't it? All show on the outside, but hollow on the inside.
Precisely. The actions are there, the words are spoken, maybe the rituals are followed, but the core connection, the heart, is distant. It's just going through the motions.
And there's another layer added. Their worship of me is based merely on human rules taught by men.
So it wasn't even necessarily rooted in a genuine response to God, but had become about following human traditions, maybe man-made regulations.
That seems to be the implication. Following rules set by people rather than cultivating a real relationship with God or adhering to his actual commands. It's religious duty disconnected from devotion.
So putting it together,
Yeah.
the judgment on Ariel, the spiritual stupor, the inability to grasp truth, like with the sealed scroll, it's all tied to this internal state. Hypocrisy, worship based on human rules, not heart connection.
And the text spells out the consequence. Therefore, once more, I will astound these people with wonder upon wonder. The wisdom of the wise will perish. The intelligence of the intelligent will vanish.
So the very human insight or cleverness they might be relying on, perhaps the source of those rules taught by men, is going to be shown up as useless, nullified by God's actions.
That's the idea. It suggests that human wisdom, when it's detached from genuine spiritual connection and humility before God, is ultimately fragile. It won't hold up.
The chapter then hits another whoa, doesn't it? This time aimed at people trying to be sneaky, basically.
Yeah. Woe to those who go to great depths to hide their plans from the Lord, who do their work in darkness and think, who sees us? Who will know? It's condemning that arrogance, that belief you can operate unseen by God.
Kind of foolish when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Trying to hide from an all-seeing God.
Mm.
And this section uses maybe the most striking analogy in the whole chapter to show how wrong their thinking is.
Oh, the potter and the clay. It's powerful. It says their whole perspective is turned upside down.
It asks, basically, should the potter be thought of as the clay? Should the thing that's made say about its maker, he did not make me?
Or even worse, the pot saying of the potter, the one who formed it, he knows nothing.
I mean, that's just an incredible picture of delusion, isn't it? The creation denying the creator or claiming it knows better, or that the creator is ignorant.
Exactly. And connecting this to the bigger picture, it really highlights this profound misunderstanding of reality. It's flipping the most basic truth on its head. God is the creator. We are the created. To act as if God doesn't see or know or matter. Well, it's like that pot denying the potter. It's self-deception at a fundamental level.
It really forces the question of who's actually in charge, who has the real understanding. The text is arguing that this spiritual blindness and hypocrisy leads to this completely warped view of their place in the cosmos.
It's a powerful critique of human pride, that tendency to think our own plans or wisdom are supreme.
Okay, so the first part of the chapter is pretty heavy. We've got judgment, blindness, hypocrisy, this upside-down view of reality. But you said it started, pivots, it doesn't end there.
No, it absolutely doesn't. There's a dramatic shift towards hope, towards a future transformation.
Yeah.
And it's described as happening fast in a very short time.
And it uses nature imagery again, right? To show how radical this change will be.
Yes, Lebanon will be turned into a fertile field, and the fertile field will seem like a forest.
Think about that. Dense forest becoming productive farmland. And then, somehow, the cultivated land becoming like a wild, dense forest again. It's like a picture of rapid, almost paradoxical, total change, signifying a massive shift.
A profound, unexpected, divine reversal.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the transformation described for the people directly counters the problems outlined earlier.
Precisely. Remember the spiritual deafness and blindness, the sealed scroll? Oh, now, in this future time.
The deaf will hear the words of the scroll.
Yes. The message that was locked away becomes accessible, understandable, the barrier's gone, and...
The eyes of the blind will see. And not just see, but see out of gloom and darkness. That spiritual stupor lifts. perception is restored.
That state of being cut off is completely reversed, and there's restoration for the downtrodden, too.
Right. The humble will rejoice.
Hmm.
The needy will rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Those who are oppressed find joy and hope.
Which implies a change in their circumstances, a reversal of fortune.
And alongside that, what happens to the ones causing the problems? The wicked.
Their time is up. The ruthless will vanish, mockers disappear, and crucially, all who have an eye for evil will be cut down. So this transformation involves clearing out injustice and those who promote it.
And the text gets specific about what these wicked people were doing, the ones who get removed.
It mentions those who, with a word, make someone guilty, probably through false accusations, and those who ensnare the defender in court, like trapping lawyers or witnesses.
And also those who, with false testimony, deprive the innocent of justice. So it's really targeting the corruption of justice, the twisting of truth.
Yes. The future vision is one where justice prevails, where those manipulating systems for evil are gone.
And there's a promise specifically for the house of Jacob, for Israel. They won't be ashamed anymore.
Right. No longer will Jacob be ashamed. No longer will their faces grow pale. That fear, that humiliation tied to the earlier judgment, it's lifted. They regain their standing.
So what brings about this change for them, this restoration? How do they move from that state of shame?
The text links it to something they witness. When they see among them their children, the work of my hands.
Seeing tangible evidence of God's work, maybe the restored community, transformed lives that sparks something.
Exactly. It sparks a genuine spiritual response. They will keep my name holy, acknowledge the holiness of the Holy One of Jacob, and crucially, stand in awe of the God of Israel.
Which is a world away from just honoring with lips while the heart is far off. Seeing God's action seems to bring their hearts back, leading to real reverence. Awe, not just ritual.
Yes, authentic holiness and acknowledgement replace the hypocrisy.
And there's one final transformation mentioned for those who were resistant before.
Those who are wayward in spirit will gain understanding. Those who complain will accept instruction. So the confusion, the grumbling, the resistance, that gets replaced by clarity and a willingness to learn.
Wow. So let's just quickly recap the journey in this chapter. It starts with judgment on Jerusalem, Ariel, but also this sudden miraculous rescue from external enemies.
Then it digs deep into why that judgment was happening. This internal spiritual blindness, like a sealed scroll, rooted in hypocrisy, empty ritual, and that fundamental potter and clay error.
A really sharp critique of just going through religious motions without heart connection.
Definitely. But then the massive pivot, this vision of a rapid future transformation, nature itself shifting, and mirroring that, the spiritual conditions are reversed.
The deaf hear the scroll, the blind see, the humble rejoice, the wicked vanish. Justice is restored.
And this change comes about when people witness God's work, leading to genuine awe, holiness, understanding, and teachability, replacing the old hypocrisy and resistance.
It's quite an arc, from deep critique to profound hope.
And the imagery is just so powerful throughout, isn't it? The city whispering from dust, the dreamlike vanishing armies, the sealed scroll, the clay arguing with the potter, the deaf hearing, the blind seeing. These pictures really carry the message.
They absolutely do. They communicate these deep truths about our relationship with the divine, the dangers of spiritual disconnect, and the possibility of radical transformation.
Yeah, it really resonates.
So this text, with its intense critique but also this vivid hope, it really prompts you to think. Given that dramatic reversal it describes, where the scroll is heard, the blind do see, it makes you wonder. Is the state of being sealed or blind presented here just as a final judgment? Or could it also be, in a way, a condition that God himself overcomes through this intervention? What actually shifts when people move from just lip service to a heart that's genuinely near? Especially when the trigger is seeing God's work and feeling that renewed awe. It leaves you pondering, doesn't it? What does it really take for that kind of true sight and understanding to break through our own potential blindness?